Hi everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Unfiltered. I have decided to kick off the series with the topic prayer. The reason is because I find that my journey from being a woman to a wife and a mother, prayer has always been an important and significant part of my life. I must say before I continue that I do appreciate that a lot of us out there from different religious backgrounds and beliefs, but I will be speaking from a Christian perspective. But I hope that through this episode you would be able to understand how I have applied prayer into my life and into all situations that I find myself. I have broken down the topic into 4 points. I will be speaking on prayer as a single woman, as a wife, as a mother, and as a couple. Firstly, prayer as a single woman. I remember back in 2006 when I was to take a very important decision to move out on my own. This was a hard decision for me, especially in the country where I had no blood relations and no family ties whatsoever. I remember that night I went down on my knees, and even though I can't remember the details of the prayer, but I remember specifically the things that I was praying about. I said things in the lines of, "Dear Lord, I'm moving out on my own. I'm going out into the wild. I know that a lot will come my way, especially in forms of relationships. I do not want to be a prey to man. You know my weaknesses. You know how vulnerable I can be. Help me not make mistakes. Help me not take decisions that would be wrong for me, or help me not make mistakes that I cannot take back or rewrite," and so on and so forth. And then the next day was the move, and I was to move into a shared house, which had other tenants anyway. And lo and behold, 2 days later, I met my husband in that house. He was a co-tenant. Now, I know some of you might say, "Oh, that's just coincidence, or that's just fate, it can happen." No, I don't believe so. I believe that my prayer activated that meeting. In another episode, I will discuss, what happened prior to me meeting my husband anyway, which confirmed that meeting. But I believe that my prayer set the pace for that journey, and the rest is history. So I believe that as a single woman, there is nothing too difficult or impossible to pray about. I prayed about everything. I prayed about my studies. I prayed about, as long as I found a situation challenging, I will pray about it. So I encourage all you young ladies out there, pray about whatever you find challenging for you, whatever you find difficult. It could be your studies, your jobs, your relationships, a marital decision, whatever it is that is important to you. Pray about it if you're not sure. Secondly, prayer as a wife. I have a very good example for this one. I remember when I met my husband, I found out he wasn't a particularly romantic person. And growing up, I used to love all my romantic novels, movies. I used to be the love at first sight kind of person. I loved all the touchy-feely, cuddly kind of relationships. But my husband was the total opposite. He wasn't so much into that. He barely held hands in public. He wasn't so much of a romantic, kind of person, like in terms of flowers, and also he doesn't do desserts after dinner in a restaurant. Really? I found that. I was like, no, that is just the tip of the iceberg. Like, I couldn't understand how we couldn't have desserts and stuff like that. We'd be having dinner and we'd have to rush off, and I found that really troubling at a certain point. But then I thought, I can't force him to be what he doesn't want to be. I would discuss it sometimes with him, but I decided, why can't I pray about it? And I started praying about it. Sometimes when I do remember, I would include it in my prayers, and I always prayed for him. And believe me, I have begun to see the changes. I have begun to see a new him. I have begun to see him, be more cuddly, be more romantic in public, be more, concerned about, certain things that I would have wanted him to in the past. And it's changed him a lot. I'm beginning to see that, and I'm appreciating my efforts with prayer. It took quite a while for me to see it the way I actually wanted it, but it's happening and I'm enjoying it. So as a wife, you need to pray about anything you want for your relationship, for your marriage, how you want your man to be, how you would want to be, what kind of a wife would you want to be, communication, romance, anything. Pray about it. Marriage is a beautiful thing. It's a union that God is for. So there is nothing too hard or impossible for God to do for your marriage. Thirdly, prayer as a mother. I remember when I conceived my little daughter, I used to lay my hands on my belly and I used to say a lot of prayers. I used to pray about how I wanted her to be. I wanted her to be a bubbly child. I wanted her to be a child of, a child of peace. I wanted her to be quite kind to everyone and nice and, just, a fun girl, brilliant, intelligent, wise amongst women, and so on and so forth. Now, my daughter will say hello to everyone and everything. We go to a very large church and my daughter will probably say hello to about 100 people that Sunday. Especially when we go for loo runs in the toilets, she'll be saying hello to everyone. Sometimes I'm like, really? This is a private moment for people. But that's what she does. And then I begin to sit and think, was that prayer a mistake? No. I found out that sometimes it actually does make someone's day when she says the, occasional hellos and, starts having this chit chat even though they don't understand what she's saying. But they do appreciate it. And I actually appreciate it because it does show that prayer can be activated. It can happen. It does happen. It can be answered. And finally, prayer as a couple. Wow. There is one pattern that I've come to realize that happens pretty often, well, up until recently. If I as much as go a few days or let's just say a maximum of a week without taking my prayer life seriously, it is guaranteed that my husband and I will have an argument over nothing. I have followed that trend. I have studied it. I have researched it. In my marriage, and it's the same. If I as much as go that length without praying together or by myself for us, no, there is disaster coming. That is just guaranteed. And sometimes because of the kind of people that we are, my husband has such an ego, I've got such an ego, it takes us days to come back together. And I'm beginning to think that's really stressful. It's time consuming, trying to put back together what shouldn't have been in the first place. So from then on, we've started to pray together every morning before he sets up to work. We pray when we come back. If he can, if I can, we do our last prayers at night. And it's fantastic. And I'm not just saying this because, I want you to see. No, it's brilliant. It works. Because prayer unites you. It brings you together. It makes you agree on one thing because you're probably praying about a certain situation, or you're praying about your family in general, or you're praying about your marriage, which, it's two of you involved. So I believe that prayer works in everything, in any situation. Try it. And I'm sure you'll be glad you did. Right. I'm going to leave it here until the very next episode. So, please do comment, do subscribe, join me on this journey, follow me on social media. The links will be down below. So, until the next episode of Unfiltered, it's bye for now.